Ladies and gentlemen, today is December 12th, 2013, and this is the KNKL Show, episode 137. I am your host, Kienan Lafferty, and today is Thoughtful Thursday, and I have my squishy ball because I've been resting my wrist today, right? I've been working very hard on the latest comic pages, as well as many other things, and we're going to talk about something very important today called the Law of Exponential Time. And before we get into that, we need to take a stroll over to this awesome GIF that was made by someone 0956 of me casting spells as a wizard. Because this is what I do in my spare time, because as you know, I am a wizard. And today, what we're going to be talking about, yes, as I said, Law of Exponential Time. Let's fix this thing today, or fix this thing right now, and today. And you might be wondering to yourself, what the heck does that even mean? Is that like some sort of math equation? Am I going to be sitting here like snoring in 5 minutes? Well, hopefully not, because what I want to talk to you guys about today is using time wisely and kind of what that whole thing entails, because that's such a vague thing. You hear it said all the time. What is using time wisely? And the last couple weeks, I've started to understand a little bit of like this. It seems almost like a rule that happens, right? It's sort of like a law of the universe. I don't know if it happens for everybody else, but this is the way that it happens for me. Being an artist, working on my projects, my comic, my freelance work, just whatever it is. And I really think that this is something that will be helpful to you guys, so I want to pass this down. So, the law of exponential time. So basically summed up, it has to do with working and resting and balancing the two out. And basically what I want to say it as, the law stated plainly is that the time that you spend working, and not resting, you will pay for exponentially, right? Like if you work constantly, you just go and go and go and go, and you never take time to rest, relax, draw back, figure out what your original vision and plan was, and then go back into it. Right? This is what I talk about with the 26-34 rule, where I'm working for 26 minutes and then I'm resting for 34. I'm actually resting more than I work, and yet somehow my work just comes out better. I get more done, and it doesn't make logical sense, and this is the real challenge, okay? So the time where you should be resting, but you continue to work anyway, you just like muscle through it. You're like, no, I don't have time to do that 26-34 crap. I don't have time for that. I'm just going to do this, right? I'm just going to push it out. I'm just going to get through it. You will end up paying for that time exponentially, which means you will pay more time in the long run, for the time that you should have been resting. And the reason why this is because of a common phrase that a lot of artists know, especially those that work in the industry, called burnout. This is where you are constantly working, you are stressed out about the job, you don't know what the heck's going on, but you know you got this deadline closing in, and you just got to get this crap done. And then you just get it done. You survive by the skin of your teeth. And you're like, oh man, that was hard. Ooh, all right, but it's done now. But then there's this feeling that just starts to build up over time the more you do that. And then you start to you start to resent the work that you're doing. You start to really not enjoy your job, even though you're doing what you love to do and what you've worked your entire life to get. And the reason why is because you're working during the times where you should be taking a step back, during the times you should be resting, during the times you should be resting your moneymaker right here. You should be doing stretches, you should be doing all this stuff. But we'll go into good activities to do while you're resting in just a moment. But that time that you should have spent resting, and instead you decided to basically take a loan out on, you now have to pay interest on it. And you pay interest by wasting extra time. Your body will almost crave this rest, and it will come to the point where you start to become depressed, you start to not like your work, and it will almost force your body to go into this state of rest because you've taken out this loan of time. So rather than do that, rather than fall into burnout and work when you should be resting, I want to advise, or just kind of throw this out there, with the opposite, right? Because not only do you pay exponentially for the time that you work when you should be resting, but you will get exponentially more work done, and you'll work exponentially better when you rest when you're supposed to rest and you work when you're supposed to work. Right? If you're resting, then when you get back into your work, you will be working at an exponential rate. You will be on fire. You will be in the zone, which is what another common term. Everybody wants to know how to be in the zone. And really the way that you do that is you have to be calculating about it. You have to have a plan. You have to know what you're going for. You have to have an original vision, then center back onto that, because it's so easy to get distracted and fall away from that. The more you just get into it, and you're like, oh well, I just got to get this done. Oh man, I told this guy I was going to have this done, last week. I just got to get it done. And it's really, really not good to do that, because you will pay for it exponentially. Okay, so anyway, I'm going to go down my little checklist here, because I've got some things written down in my awesome little notebook. So I'm going to go ahead and just go down the list here. Okay, so the first thing I want to talk about is, and these are just some thoughts that I thought were very relative to what we're talking about today. And the first thing is, your day is a series of first steps and choices. And this is something that I've realized happens a lot with me. Is I'll have this project, or I'll be working on a comic page for Emma. And really the hardest part about doing it, the hardest part about making the comic, is not actually making it. Making the comic is easy. I have the skills and everything necessary to create my comic. I know that I can do it. I've sat down and I've created, 80 pages now over a year. Over a year I've created 80 pages. And it's like, I know that I can do it. The hardest part about making the comic is taking that first step, is literally sitting my butt in this chair and then deciding that I'm going to do it. And I really don't know why this is. I don't know why this happens, and this is something that I'm really trying to discover and figure out with myself. And I'm curious if it's the same for you guys, and I think it is. I think it's very much the same with a lot of artists, that it's not so hard to actually do the thing that we're good at, right? Because we're artists. We know how to do stuff, and we're getting better. We're improving every day. I think the hardest part is just deciding that you're really going to do it and then committing to it. Especially when your life and the world is just so full of distractions. Be like, oh, well, I got to get on World of Warcraft. I got to level up, or I got to do this daily thing, get my reputation up with this thing. Oh, I got to go play some PlayStation, or I got to watch TV. There's so many distractions that are they're so available and just ready for you to take them up and be like, oh, well, I can just do that later. I don't have to sit down and do this. I don't have to sit down and do what I'm good at. I just have to distract myself over here. And this is something that I've been doing. I constantly do this. Whenever it comes to that point where I'm ready to take that step, right, when I'm ready to step off the edge of the cliff and do the bungee jump, I find myself looking to the left and being like, oh, hey, oh, there's some nice video games right here. Oh, I can stay nice and safe. I don't have to take the jump. I'll just stay right here and I'll play my video games. And then it just doesn't end up working out well. Okay, so a series of first steps. So I want you guys to realize that oftentimes it's like you're sitting on the edge of the plane. You're looking out. You're looking out of the edge of the plane. You're ready to do the skydive. And after you take that step off the plane, there's no going back. You commit yourself to doing it, and then you let go. You let your skills flow. You let yourself be, in the experience. So I want you guys to understand that, the things that you do in life, the things that are going to create, the life that you want for yourself, really it's going to come down to not necessarily the skill that you're going to develop, because that's going to come naturally. I think the biggest skill that we have to work on as artists is like this discipline, is this willingness to step into our fear, to step into the unknown. I think that is not just a skill that only artists have to learn, but everybody has to learn. Anybody who makes anything out of themselves, anybody who makes the life that they wanted to make for themselves, is a person that has mastered that discipline. So that's what I'm really trying to focus on, is just the discipline of taking the step. Stepping off. All right, next up. Let's see here. Okay, so I also wrote down, speaking of the first step, similar to walking out the plane. After you're out of that plane, you can't like swim back up to it, right? You can't swim back up to the plane and like grab on and be like, oh, phew, oh, that was a bad decision. Good thing I decided to go back onto it. Good thing I decided to go back onto the plane. That's what I meant to say. Anyway, because that's the other thing, is I've noticed once I sit my butt down and I've committed to making this comic panel, to creating this page, it just gets done. It gets done. I don't go and then like 10 minutes later it's like, oh, this was a bad idea. Now I'm going to go play video games, because it just doesn't, I don't know, it just doesn't work that way. So I really feel, again, reinforcing that thing. Once you take the step, whether it is to distract yourself or to do the thing, very often you don't go back on it. You don't, because you're there, you're doing it. And your body allows yourself to do it. Okay, so Moving on. Okay, so going back to resting and the law of exponential time. So what really helps is after you take that first step and you say, okay, I'm going to do this. A very good thing to do, and this is something that I do, and again, I'm going to throw this in your face, get a journal and write down the things that you're going to do as a checklist. Write down the things that you're going to do as a checklist, because now it's no longer just like this nebulous thing sticking in the back of your head and you're like, oh, did I say I was going to do this first and then this first and then, oh, and I gotta go wash the dishes, oh, I gotta go drop off these packages to the mail. You get all this stuff in your head, just get it down on paper, and then when you're working, you are completely focused, because you don't have to worry about forgetting anything. It's all right here. And it's really good. You don't need to get like some crazy, journal. I got this thing from Barnes & Noble, right? And I like it. It's cool. But you can just get a piece of paper and you can do it. I have this thing too. This is almost just like my daily goals. I write stuff here. And then my long-term and just like journalistic thoughts going here. So yeah, write stuff down. Have a plan. Have a plan and be ready to rest and work accordingly. Now, moving on to the 26-34 rule. You guys have heard me talk about this. I work for 26 minutes, and then I rest for the remaining 34 minutes of the hour. What? How does that work? And you say you get more done than if you were just work constantly, right? Well, maybe, in the short run, if I have like this big project and it's like, oh, I just got to get this done, and then I just work and work and work, and I say, screw the 26-34 rule. I don't have time for that. I don't have time to rest, which I have done. This has been my mentality for the last 2 weeks. Guess what's happened? After those 2 weeks, after I released that last Emma page, which I absolutely loved, I was super happy with how it came out, but I had pushed aside my 26-34 rule. I was not resting when I said I was going to, and I was completely just not organized. I was not organized, and I wasn't following the plan. And guess what happened? I was completely burned out. I was burnt out to the point where I was like, you know what? I don't want to do this anymore like this. I don't want to do this anymore. If I continue working like this, the days, like the weeks, were just blending together because I was working through the weekend, right? And it's just like, oh, there's the weekend. Oh, we're already halfway into the next week. Oh, but I'm still behind, still behind, still behind. So what I decided was very important for me to do was I needed to take a break. I needed to take a break. And here's the worst part about it, is that the break that I'm going to take now, it is exponentially greater than the time that I should have just rested. I should have just rested. I should have planned better, and I should have distracted myself less with the games I was playing, right? There's nothing wrong with playing video games every now and then, but I was distracting myself because I was afraid to take that step off the plane, because I was afraid to take the bungee jump. And those are things that I'm looking at and trying to take care of with myself, right? That's that discipline, the discipline muscle, the willingness to take that step. But also now I will pay because of that. Because of that, my and it's not just time. It is, you will pay physically too, because your hand hurts, your wrist hurts. I used to have terrible wrist problems while I was working at Riot Games. Because I was always, my mentality was so messed up, and I never took breaks. I was always just like afraid of these deadlines, and I wasn't resting when I was supposed to, and I had developed like these terrible, wrist pains, back pains and stuff. And this could have all been avoided if I would have just planned things better, if I would have had that discipline muscle ready to go. Because again, like, I still struggle with it. And it's something that I always will struggle with. And you're supposed to. There's never a point where you're like, oh, I'm completely disciplined. I don't have a problem with distractions anymore. Yeah, that part of me is just gone. That part of me is just gone and dead forever. You're never going to get to that point. But what you do is you develop the mental muscle that is able to push against that weight, the weight of distraction. You're able to push it aside and be like, I'm going to do this. And then when you're done, then you play some games. Then you do all that stuff. And there's plenty of time. You got plenty of time. That's the other thing, is that the time that you have to do what you want in this life, to create the story that you want, you have so much time. I have procrastinated like for years. You could say that I've wasted years of my life just messing around, just playing video games, just doing stuff that didn't really matter, when really I could have been improving my skills. I could have been, going for the job at the video game company quicker. It's just, I procrastinated plenty in my life. And guess what? There's still so much time. There's still so much time. But now what I'm doing is I'm taking greater responsibility and using the time that I have. So I don't want this to be like a doomsday thing, you know, me saying like, oh, well, you better use your time wisely, young whippersnapper, otherwise you're going to be an old man like me, and then you would have not made your comic, and then everybody will hate you and all that stuff. It's not about that. It's just about, really what I'm trying to get through today is that when you think that you're saving time by working constantly, you're really just, you're going to pay for it exponentially in the end. You will pay interest on that. You're taking a loan out on the future time. And whereas if you rest, here's the other thing. If you rest, you develop like this pace, like the 2634, it is this pace that just never gets old. It never gets to the point where you get tired of it. It's so interesting. I don't know exactly how it works, but it's amazing. And a really good analogy that I want to throw into this is that, you know, you think about your heart, right? The one organ that keeps you alive. Well, you know, he's got the team thing going on, but the major organ that keeps you alive for all your life. How is it able to do that? How is it able to constantly be working your whole life and then, you know, just go for years and years and years and never get burnt out? Well, the reason why is because the heart beats, right? It tenses up and it works, you know, only less than half of the time. You know, it rests for the remaining bit of the time, right? It pumps and then it rests. And this is something that you need to apply to your work schedule, right? You should be pumping, right? You should be working, right? And then you have to rest when you're supposed to rest. Because if it was just like constantly, you know, tensed up and just like going as fast as it could and barely resting, you know, you'd freaking have a heart attack, right? Basically, your heart would explode and it would die, and that's not good. That's not good. Same thing will happen to you if you're working constantly. You push it aside and be like, oh, I don't have to rest. Your body will begin failing. You will develop problems in your wrist. You will develop problems in your back. And then the time that it takes to heal, you will pay for it. You can't escape having to pay for the time that you need to rest, okay? So, let us move on to another analogy. And this is the other awesome part of the 2634 rule. And that is, well, there's two parts to this, but I'll get into the second one in a second. Okay. So the first part is that I think half of the magic of the 2634 rule is not necessarily that you're working less than you rest. I think really what it is that you set 2 times. Because you could do 45 minutes of work and then 15 minutes of rest. Or you could do 55 minutes of work and then 5 minutes of rest. You know, I really think that, you know, I mean, I don't want you to be like 5 minutes of work, 55 minutes of rest, because that might be a little bit screwy. But I think really what it is that you set down a plan. You set down a plan and then you stick to that plan. And when you do that, it does something to your mind. It does something to your mind, and I think what it is that subconsciously you accept that you're the person that lays down the law. You're the person that says how it's going to be, your life, your work, and then you follow that. And same thing goes the other way. Say you're going to try the 2634 rule. And I've done this plenty of times where it's like, I'll go 26 minutes and be like, all right, it's time to rest. Let's go play some video games. And then 34 minutes goes by, you hear the little buzzer and be like, oh, I'm almost done with this level, just 5 more minutes. And if you do that, the same thing happens. Subconsciously, you will tell yourself, I'm the kind of person that doesn't do what I'm going to say. I'm the kind of person that just doesn't quite follow the plan. You know, I'm the kind of person that just gets distracted. I'm the kind of person that doesn't follow through. And these are very bad things. And this leads into, and this is a common question that I've gotten, is what do I do while I'm resting? If I'm going to be resting more than I'm working now, well, what am I going to do? What am I supposed to do? And I have some good suggestions for that. Okay. So resting activities, and I'm going to give you a list of good ones and a list of bad ones. The list of good activities that I've found while I'm resting, while I'm working, is things that literally take you away from what you're doing. I'm working on the computer, so you know what the best thing to do is, come to 34, you get up, you walk away. You get up and you walk away from the computer. You go do something. And look at all the crap on my bed. Well, don't look at that because it's messy. But you get up and you walk away. The best activities that you can do while you're resting from your work is something that is completely different. Something that it has nothing to do with you thinking about it. Don't walk away and then think about, oh man, I gotta render this chick's face. She looks really ugly and I gotta make her look really hot, right? Oh, how am I gonna do that? And you're like thinking while you're on your resting break. The best way for you to get answers to the problems that you're having while you're working is to leave them. You go away. Because what happens is when you do that, you open your mind to like the subconscious hunches. You get the inspiration, some people say. And you ever notice like inspiration always comes to you whenever you're not trying. Whenever you're not trying to figure out the idea, it always comes to you. So, you know, most of my ideas come to me when I'm like driving in the car. Maybe when I'm in the shower or I'm like washing dishes downstairs. You know, it's like whenever I'm doing something that's not related to the work. So, good resting activities include taking a shower, right? Because I get nice and greasy, dirty, you know, working on the comic all day. I'm a nice hairy man, hairy artist, right? So, you know, it's good to bathe every now and then. And it's very relaxing. You know, you just go in the shower, relax, and you just enjoy the shower. And then you get ideas, okay? Cleaning is also very good. Hey, you got a bunch of stuff on your bed. Why don't you clean that crap up? Why don't you clean the freaking pile of wad of clothes that's jammed in the corner of your room, or organize your books. You know, cleaning things is very nice because it gets rid of, again, all those things in the back of your mind. Those little things that are piling up of like, oh man, I need to take care of this. Oh, I said I was going to take care of this, but I didn't yet. You get rid of those things, and then when you come back, you're even more focused. Napping. Napping is a great thing to do. I think like the perfect napping time is 34 minutes because it takes you about, if you're really relaxed, it takes you about 5 to 10 minutes to fall asleep. Then you do that power nap, and then you wake up at the end of it, and then you're ready to go. Sometimes I've been really drowsy towards the end of my naps, though, so that one might be kind of like a mid-ground, depending on how your napping behaviors are. Reading. Reading, I think, is the #1 activity that you can do while you're resting. Get a bunch of books, specifically ones that talk about, I love mentality books, talking about Blink. This is a book about trusting your gut. Like what is the origin of hunches? What is the origin of inspiration? Things like that. Those are things that are in this book. Things talking about life, how to live your life to the fullest, how to be more grateful for the things that you have, how to just be more happy. I love books that talk about these things because I really believe that no matter what position you are in life, no matter what you have around you, no matter what your circumstances are, you can be grateful and you can feel great in the moment just by being alive. And then with that feeling, once you have that feeling, then you are able to carry yourself to greater things. You know what I'm saying? It's almost like you got to be happy with what you got first before you're able to have more. As opposed to, oh, I'll be happy when you get this. You're never going to get that. Newsflash. You're never going to get what you think is going to make you happy. Because even if you do get it, you will still not be happy. Because you know what happens? When you get that thing and you're like, oh yeah, finally got it. And then you look to the next thing and be like, oh, well, no, I'm still not going to be happy. So, little mentality thing there. Okay, meditating. I don't know. I'm not super into meditating. I used to do it, kind of off and on. It's really nice. I like it. But, again, I know that it's good for me, but I say in my head, it's like, oh, I don't have time for that. I don't have time for that. Writing in the journal is kind of my meditation. I get my thoughts out of my head. Going outside is really good. Just go take a little walk. Go on a bike ride. Go walk your dog. Go shovel snow off the driveway. It's now turned to ice because I haven't done it. Working out is also great. I have a really nice half-an-hour workout where I can go down, just do that, work for 26 minutes, and I go take a shower because I'm all sweaty after that. Making food, making lunch, it's really good, especially if you're working from home. It's really nice. Okay, so that's a list of good activities. Bad activities include playing video games, watching TV, going on YouTube or Tumblr or Instagram, Vine, I don't care what it is. If you're doing those things while you're on your break, again, I'm not going to tell you what to do. If it works for you, that's good, but it takes a lot more discipline to bring, because what happens is it's so easy for you to get sucked into that. Especially, say you're watching TV, you're like, oh, well, the timer goes off, and you're like, oh, well, the episode's almost done, and then it ends on this huge cliffhanger, and you're like, oh, well, I gotta watch the next one. I gotta watch the next one, and then you watch the next one, and then an hour goes by, and you're like, oh, shoot, right? And you've already done the damage. Video game, I'm in some multiplayer match playing, The Last of Us or whatever, and then I friggin' suck that round, and then I'm like, no, I'm not ending on that round, and the timer's going off, right? I'm like, ah, screw that. This is the most important thing right now. And I play another one, play another one, play another one, and it's very distracting. Same thing with YouTube. You just go video, 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 video. These are bad things, and it takes a lot more discipline. If you can do this, if you can, as soon as you hear that timer, you are just done, you are off, then I commend you. You have more discipline than me, and that's freaking awesome. And if you can, then go ahead and do it. But I advise you, stay away, stay away. They are very dangerous activities to be doing on your resting break. Save it for after work. Save it for the weekend or whatever. Okay, so I hope that helps you guys out. As far as the dividing your time. I just want to call it, maybe just dividing the hour. Divide the hour however you wish. I just like 2634 because I think it's so cool. I think it's so cool to be able to say that I work less than I rest and I get more done. And I'm improving in every, like my life is getting better. I feel like I'm discovering inspiration through these books. I'm getting in better shape. I'm making good food. I really like that. I really think that is what life is about. So, moving on, I'm going to wrap things up here. Oh, one of the other analogies that I wanted to talk about with the 2634 and the law of exponential time, and this goes into the other part of it, where when you spend the time that you're supposed to resting and then you go back to work, you're now exponentially more powerful. You have the power. You are the wizard casting the spells. And the analogy that I want to bring to you is this, is when you're shooting a bow and arrow, right? You can't just like take the bow right here and then you have the arrow and just like push the arrow out. You can't just like throw it, right? You have to draw it back, right? And this is the analogy of you resting. When you're drawing back, when you're taking a step back, you're drawing the arrow back. And then when you come back to your work, you just let it go, which is similar to when I talk about using the force of the artist. When you use your skills, when you let your skill flow out of you, you are literally letting go. You're not trying to make a picture. You're not trying to make it look good. You just have that ability within you. And if you don't have it right now, you don't have the ability to make exactly what you want, you are on your way there. And you just have to continue going for it. And everybody's improving, right? There's still things that I want to improve upon. There's things that I am improving upon. So yeah, that's the thing. You draw back, rest, and then you let it go. And you go, shoo, right? With exponentially more power, as opposed to trying to get a bullseye by just like throwing the arrow. It doesn't work as well. So that's the one that really clicked for me, and that was said by Les Brown, which is an amazing motivational speaker. You guys should really check him out. That's Les Brown. Really good man. Really good man. And I think that's about it. That's about it. I'm going to do closing thoughts. In the meantime, please cast any questions that you have over the castle walls. I'll answer them. Preferably having to do with what we talked about today. Art stuff, save that for Monday through Wednesday. And then we will end day 137. I feel pretty good about today. I feel pretty good about today's lesson. I took a step myself by saying, oh, I'm going to call this the rule of exponential time, like it's some prepared lesson or it's some law, and it's really just something I made up. But it's been working for me. It's kind of like one of those things that I've noticed. Okay, where is this? Okay. Toucans is asking, was I at the Long Beach Comic-Con? No. However, I have applied to go to Anaheim in April for WonderCon, which is basically the little baby of Comic-Con. Really interesting thing that I've learned about conventions is that they want to know your history. They want to know, what other conventions have you been to? You're not going to let just some schmo walk up and get a booth or be an exhibitor at San Diego Comic-Con. They want to know that you have history, that you've done well, and they want you to be really established. So I think that that's really good that we're going to WonderCon. If we make it into WonderCon, it's going to be a good thing to have on our resume when we apply for San Diego. We go big. Okay. Aliano is asking a great question. He says, do you ever get distracted by DeviantArt and other art websites? Oftentimes I spend too much time looking for inspiration, and then I spend all day looking at art and tutorials. Yes, this is exactly what I'm talking about, Aliano. The reason why you're doing this is you're sitting on the edge of the plane, right, looking out, and they're telling you, yeah, jump, jump, right? And then you're like, no, wait a minute. Before I make this jump, I need to be ready. And then you open up the manual. You open up the skydiving manual, and you're like, okay, so this is the formation. This is how you pull a parachute. Even though you already know how to do all this stuff, you convince yourself that you need to be distracted and you're not ready to take the jump yet. That's exactly what you're doing. And I do it too. I do it too. I'm still doing it. I did these last 2 weeks so much. I'm freaking standing on the edge of the plane, and I go back in, open the manual. You just got to make that jump, dude. You got to make the jump. Okay. Oh, that brings up a really awesome quote. For those of you who watched Dom's Sketchcast, he quoted somebody, and I forgot who it was, but it's put it so plainly, and I love this quote. It is that inspiration is for amateurs, and real artists are the ones that just show up. The real artists just show up, and this is what I'm talking about. The people that make stuff happen have just developed this discipline muscle. They don't even need to be necessarily good. There's so many artists that I see that are amazing, right? And then this artist that is like not as good, right? But just because they're disciplined and they make stuff happen, they become infinitely more successful, right? If you want to talk business or whatever. And maybe infinitely more successful in terms of life because they're the person that just does what they're going to say. And it doesn't have to do necessarily with skill. I really think it's only half of it. Half of being an artist is what can you do? The other half is can you actually be there to do it? Can you actually show up? So anyway, yes, thank you for bringing that to my attention. Aliano. Last question. Oh yeah, this book right here is called Blink. This is a really good book. I really like it a lot. It's by Malcolm Gladwell. I started reading it. Some of the way that it's written is a little bit boring in the beginning, but it's kind of cool. It talks about just like where you get those hunches from, how you can just like look at something and know whether it's going to work or not, or just like inspiration. I don't know, it's hard to explain, but that's a really good book. Another book that I read recently was Super Self. Super Self, I think Super Self is really one of my favorite books so far because it talks about values. It talks about setting goals, attaining goals, and what really makes you feel good when you attain those goals, as opposed to getting something and then still not being happy. All right, people. I will post a link to the interview with Dom's Sketchcast on YouTube once I upload this. But until then, we're going to go ahead and end today's Thoughtful Thursday. Thank you for joining me live on Twitch and joining me for our Rule of Exponential Time. I think what it was called. Exponential Time, yes. You guys take care of yourselves. I hope you have a great weekend. I'm super excited about Christmas coming up and the new year. All that good stuff. But until then, you guys take care. I'll see you next time.